Hi, my name is Captain Jeff from the Sailing Academy. Today I'm going to talk about what I look for personally in a blue water cruising boat. Starting at the bottom of the boat, working our way up. Hull shape's really important. The more water or the more hull you have below the water line is going to be good and more comfortable. I also like the nice smooth transition between hull and keel. This is a full keel. The keel starts towards the bow, works all the way back. What's nice about this is it's a totally enclosed propeller. It's very, very protected, and the rudder is also very protected, hung on the back of the keel. So the chances of it striking something or getting damaged is very, very slim. It's a very strong design. The only problem with these are they're a little bit difficult to turn. They're hard to maneuver in close quarters. They don't back up well, but offshore they're magnificent. Now let's go look at a couple other designs that are not quite a full keel, but also equally as good in different ways. So getting away from some of the challenges that a full keel has, we have a modified full here. It's got a big cutaway between the keel and the rudder, and that allows for a little bit better performance, but also that has nice protection for the rudder and adequate protection for your propeller. So this hull shape has more of a flat bottom. It has a fin keel with a spade rudder. It's going to perform really well, but it probably wouldn't be my first choice for offshore sailing. Fantastic for coastal cruiser or inshore sailing. The rudder is not protected at all, so I've had rudders hit before, which it bent the rudder post, and you have to pull it out of the boat, have it straightened by a shop, and then put back in. It kind of takes a lot of time out of your cruising schedule. So I like having some protection against the rudder. I do like the folding prop, but then again, the prop is very exposed on this boat, easy to pick up crab pots or lines. After looking at the keel configuration, my attention next is going to go to the cockpit. I really like this cockpit of this boat. It's small, large enough for my wife and I and some family members and some friends, but it's not huge. It's nice and deep. The coamings are really high. I feel very secure inside here. The trend today is to have really wide sterns with open transom. And if you take water over, it can wash things out of your cockpit. My concern is what's going to go with the water as it drains out that open transom back there. Now, I do like the enclosed transom for being offshore because it is more secure, and having a pulled-in stern means that from anywhere you're sitting in the cockpit, there are a lot of really good secure handholds, and I can wedge myself in and ride securely. If you have too big of a cockpit, if you lose your footing or start to slide, it's a long way to the other side. You can kind of create some velocity. It can be an abrupt stop, or the worst case scenario, there's not an abrupt stop and you keep going. You break our first rule of sailing. Our first rule of sailing at the Sailing Academy is stay aboard the boat. So after the cockpit, I'm going to move down below, and the layout of the boat is very important to me. If it's nice, I want it big enough to be comfortable so that when we're sitting at dock, we have people over. We've got plenty of room to spread out and enjoy some time together. But I don't want it too big where it's difficult to maneuver through the cabin while the boat's pitching and rocking at sea, and I don't have good handholds to make it through the whole cabin. I had a friend who was looking at and actually purchased a 50-foot boat, absolutely gorgeous, granite countertops, nice leather interior. Everything was very beautiful. But as he came down the companionway, we were looking through the companionway all the way through the main salon to the bathroom or the head that was in the front of the boat. And the question he asked the broker was, in a seaway, how do you get down to the cabins or to the head? And the broker kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, I guess, you just kind of stay up in the cockpit until, while you're in a seaway. And he's like, I'm looking for an offshore boat. So you're meaning that I got to stay in the cockpit for 2 weeks as I cross the Atlantic? However long it takes. So that was something that was really important to me. I want to be able to walk through the boat, be able to have a nice sturdy handhold or grab point all the way through. I also want to make sure I've got some very comfortable sea bunks or sea berths. The cabins in this boat are very comfortable, but when I'm in the ocean, I'm going to be sitting in a sea berth. Something like this one up here. It's got a lee cloth. This lee cloth comes up and will attach up high and acts as like a hammock to hold me into my bunk. I sleep very securely on either tack of the boat. This one has both sides set up so we can put all the crew in proper sea berths with lee cloths. Case in point, the main cabin on this boat is all the way forward in the bow. nice and big and beautiful, and a nice, double bunk. And you'll see in a lot of modern boats that the owner's suite is forward. The problem with that is, if you know the motion of a boat, what gets the most motion in waves is the bow of the boat. So we've seen people go up and say, "Oh, I'll take the forward cabin," and after a couple of hours of bouncing around up there, they'll feel more comfortable and secure coming back and being in a proper sea berth. I'm always looking for lots of safe, secure storage. If it's not in a locker, it's not in a cabinet that locks securely and toggles down, it will open, it will fly. You'll have a boater's yard sale at sea, and a neat boat is a safe boat. So I like a boat like this. There's tons of storage space. There's lockers that lock securely. Enough place for everything. So I'm not trying to stuff things in and make it work. So I go through the boat, each cabin, and I'm looking for how much space is there behind the scenes, like underneath here, behind this bunk, underneath this settee. Where can I put all my stuff? And then I'll organize it correctly. We'll draw a map out of the whole boat, label all the lockers, and then basically have a table of contents of where all our stuff is. Second rule of sailing at the Sailing Academy is to keep the water on the outside of the boat. So I'm going to look at the bilge compartments. I like having a lot of different ways to evacuate water out of the boat. So this boat has 3 different bilge compartments with 3 different bilge pumps. And the 3 of them, I've got 3 that are electronic and 1 of them that's manual. So if one compartment's not working, I can always, use the pump from that one for the other compartments. For a deck configuration, the most important thing is really wide side decks. For me, it feels safer walking back and forth. This specific boat has a flush deck. So instead of like a big, coach roof in the middle that reaches all the way forward, I have loads of deck space for easy to move around, lounging, having a great time with guests. But I really like the wide side deck, so it's an easy path coming back and forth. Some really beautiful boats, they look great, but they have these little tiny side decks that I'm kind of shimmying down, and I just don't feel that safe with small side decks. So I love the configuration of a boat like this. You notice also this boat has granny bars, which I really appreciate. I can go forward and wedge myself in here in a seaway, feel very secure while I'm reefing sails or working with my lines of the mast. Ventilation is also really important. This boat has 8 hatches on deck. All of them open up, have beautiful ventilation that flows through the whole boat. And a feature that you don't see a lot today on new builds, but some of the older boats you'll find will have pilot houses like this one. It's a great configuration. The pilot house isn't too high, so you still feel like you have a proper cockpit. Some pilot house boats, the pilot house is so big that the actual sailing cockpit's almost an afterthought at the end. It's made to steer down below. This one is actually made to steer from the cockpit. It's a normal cockpit like you'd find in a nice modern sailboat. And it has a low enough pilot house that it's actually functional, but it doesn't obstruct your view if you're sailing out from the cockpit. So it's raining right now, so rather than explain a pilot house, the benefits of pilots from the outside, let's go inside and take a look. So now that we're inside, we can kind of look at the benefit of having a pilot house, especially when it's raining out. I can come down here, close up the outside, and I can still see where I'm going from here. I've got dual engine controls from here and also in the outside. I can steer the boat from here. This boat also has dual chart plotters and radar and all my wind instruments, so I can keep track of everything that's going outside at the helm station and inside. And it's just much nicer to be safe and dry and warm. I owned a boat for several years that didn't have a pilot house, but it did have some windows where I could see out. Now, it wasn't very good for close quarters maneuvering, but if I was away from the shore, I could have enough visibility. So all I did is I installed a repeater for my autopilot control unit, put it inside the boat, and I can actually steer from inside. So that was enough a way for me to get out of the bad weather in a boat without a pilot house. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button and follow us for more sailing videos. We do boat reviews from time to time, but this is just what we're looking for, what I personally look for when I'm looking for a solid offshore cruising boat.